Come on up. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let me express my sincere appreciation for all of you all being here this Monday morning. The men and women that you see flanking me are leaders in our community representing the Birmingham City Council, led by the Chair of the Public Safety Committee, Chairwoman, and Representative of City Council District 9, LaTonya Tate, as well as Chief Pickett, his command staff of Birmingham Police Department, Sheriff Mark Petway and his command staff, as well as the Jefferson County delegation, who members will be introduced in a few minutes. We're gathered here because we represent a unified front. We represent a unified front related to calling for a passage of a statewide ban on conversion devices, commonly known as Glock switches. As we've stated before, and as you all have seen in demonstrations, Glock switches, these conversion devices, allow a semi-automatic weapon to be turned into an automatic weapon. BPD, as well as the Sheriff's Office, are fully aware of these devices and are on the streets every day, actually, believe it or not, making arrests, doing everything they can to engage and take these off the streets. We've also worked closely with the U.S. Attorney's Office to assist us, and while the federal government has banned such devices, we want to make it clear as a unified front that passage at the state level from our state legislators are equally critical. That being the case, I want to be clear and say that establishing a statewide ban removes a gap which gives the local law enforcement you see standing here more tools, if you would, to get these devices off our streets. I also want to be clear in saying this: one person cannot solve this issue alone of gun violence. That is not only the beauty of the power of what you see here, a genuine partnership, real leaders in community, all of us collectively doing everything we can to address this issue of decreasing gun violence in Birmingham and Jefferson County. We are laser focused on making sure we can keep our public safe. And so they've already been introduced, and more to come from our legislators. So what I want to do first is step aside and allow our law enforcement to speak, first starting with Chief Pickett, and then Sheriff Mark Petway, and then I'll come back up to the podium to introduce others.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Michael Pickett. I currently serve as Interim Chief of Police for Birmingham Police Department. And the importance of this is simply that we've seen an influx in Glock switches in our community. I want to say since I've taken this role, we've taken roughly 30 to 40 Glock switches off our streets in Birmingham. And another reason this is so important in law enforcement, you know, some of you have probably heard of McGruff, the crime dog. Well, the thing is, in law enforcement officers need to be armed with teeth, okay? And for us, laws and legislation are the teeth that law enforcement officers and deputies need to be able to address the violent crime in our city and in our county. So it's huge. If we can get this passed, it gives us another tool, as Mayor stated, it gives us another tool to be able to address the most violent people in our community. Thank you.
Sheriff.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Jefferson County Sheriff Mark Petway, and I would like to thank Mayor Woodfin and the City of Birmingham for bringing us together to discuss an extreme pressing issue in our community, Glock switches. I have to give gratitude to Senator Roger Smitterman, Representative Rolanda Hollis, Representative Kevin Thatcher, Representative Travis Hendricks, for their commitment to public safety and their dedication to fighting gun violence. I don't want to also omit the Coleman senators that we have here, Coleman and Coleman. And Representative Rafferty didn't know that they would be here, but don't want to admit them because I need them also. We all have seen firsthand the devastation caused by conversion devices known as Glock switches. They do not belong in our communities or neighborhoods. They pose a direct threat to both our citizens and to the brave law enforcement officers who risk their lives daily. As sheriff of Jefferson County, I have witnessed the deadly consequences of these illegal modifications. I have seen families torn apart by gun violence. The fear in our neighborhoods and the increased danger of my deputies face when the weapons are used. The statewide ban is a crucial step that I support wholeheartedly. But laws alone are not enough. We must have strong enforcement to get these devices off of our streets. I am calling on law enforcement, elected officials, and most importantly, the people of our communities to work together. We need your help. You've heard this before, but it's so important. If you see something, say something. If you know where these devices are being sold, stored, or used, speak up. Your information could prevent the next tragedy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Pickett, and thank you, Sheriff Petway, for your leadership on this topic. Next, we want to bring up Danny Carr, and then bring up Councilwoman LaTonya Tate, and I'll come back and introduce our other speakers. I cannot speak for the DA, but I imagine he shares and echoes what other 66 DAs throughout the state of Alabama want, which is a state law to complement the federal law that give them additional tools to hold people accountable for hurting others in our community with Glock switches. That being said, everyone, DA Danny Carr.
Good morning. Machine gun conversion devices has no place in a civilized society. I'll say that again. Machine gun conversion devices have no place in a civilized society. I think we can all agree on that. Although they're small, but when they're used by one pull of a trigger, they're very deadly. There need to be laws on the books that will allow state prosecutors as well to hold those individuals who use those Glock switches, who modify weapons to make them machine-like guns, and who actually have them either in actual possession or constructive possession. Either way, then we need to have the ability to hold them accountable in state court, but also allow the U.S. Attorney's Office to continue to hold them accountable in federal court. In those cases, doesn't have to be ran concurrent, they can be ran consecutively, which means that you can serve time in the state court, state penal facility, and also in a federal facility. So I want to thank everybody that you see standing up here, our senators, our state reps, our mayor, our sheriff, our police chief. But I want to thank everybody who you don't see, the people that's standing with the people you see on camera to make this happen, because all communities and all circumstances are not created equal. Everybody have different issues, and we see this issue play out every day here in Birmingham and in Jefferson County. It takes all of us to eradicate this issue, not just one person, all of us together. So I'm just going to ask everybody to get off the sidelines, let your voice be heard, and make sure you stand for what's right. And that is to take these conversion devices off of our streets, out of the cars, out of the schools, and make sure that there are real consequences if someone is caught with them. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to echo pretty much what everybody has already said. I do stand firmly with the mayor. I want to thank the Jefferson County delegation, Sheriff Petway, DA Carr, Interim Chief Mike Pickett. And as they stated, the Glock switches have no place in our community. I stand firm today as the chairwoman of public safety and the representative of District 9 to continue to advocate and legislate for best practices that the mayor has introduced to the city of Birmingham, and thanking my colleagues for the legislation and the monies that we have passed to bring best practices to reduce gun violence in the city of Birmingham. The mayor is firm on what he believes in, the best practices that we've been able to bring to introduce back to the city of Birmingham, the street outreach team, and really legislating and advocating for community violence intervention work to be put into budgets, not just through the city, the county. Everybody has to play their part. So we're reaching out to the communities to make sure that they play their part, because we all as a collective have to work together to reduce gun violence. And I have great confidence as I stand at this podium today that we will get there. I really believe that gun violence will start decreasing in the city of Birmingham. And the opportunities, as the mayor said, we want to give you these opportunities. We want to give you the resources that you need to thrive in the city of Birmingham, with jobs, with, you know, the things that you need, if you need to get your education. But again, I stand firmly with the mayor, the sheriff, the Birmingham Police Department, and the Jefferson County delegation to reduce gun violence and get sensible gun violence legislation passed in the state of Alabama.
Thank you, DA Danny Carr, and thank you, Councilwoman and Chairwoman of the Public Safety Committee, LaTonya Tate. Listen, I saved the best for last on purpose. I told you all this is teamwork. We cannot do our work without the state of Alabama. LaTonya Tate and I stand before you, elected officials, and our positions are nonpartisan. It's extremely important to us to work with the state to solve problems, particularly one of this nature. That being the case, it is not lost on us that the House of Representatives actually passed a bill on their side last session. We are encouraged by the dialogue and the conversations we hear so far, not just from the Jefferson County delegation, who we have a major appreciation for on both sides, House and Senate, but some of the conversation that's happening around the state. With that said, we hope that Representative Eisner's bill out of Montgomery pushes fast through the process, and then the Senate comes along. And so let me do this. On behalf of the Jefferson County delegation, House of Representatives, I would like to have Travis Hendricks, who's not just representative, but his full-time employment as a Birmingham police officer that gives him a very unique perspective, to speak on behalf of the Jefferson County House of Representatives. And he can bring his colleague up as well and introduce him. Gentlemen, come forward, please. Oh, yes, all of you.
Yeah, come on up. Well, good evening. Well, good morning. First, I want to thank Mayor Woodfin for allowing us to be here today. I also want to thank Sheriff Petway, Chief Pickett, all my coworkers, everybody else that's present. Man, this means a lot. As you all know, Governor Ivey, she has put forth a Safe Alabama Act, well, a package of bills that focus on gun violence and also supporting law enforcement officers across the state. From being a sergeant with Birmingham Police Department and also being a state legislator, personally, this means a lot to me. But the thing about it is, this would not have been possible without a bipartisan effort. Us working together as one for a common goal, which is to make Alabama a safe state once again. Just to talk about a few of those bills within that particular package, one in particular is the Inner City Gun Violence Act, which mandatory jail time for possession of a firearm, any prior felon conviction. The second I want to mention is the ANILE law, which is the expansion of the current 12 offenses. One offense in particular would be added to that particular legislation is the shooting into an occupied dwelling, which currently right now on the books is a Class B felony, but it will be upgraded to a Class A felony. The other one I want to mention, the reason why we're here today, which is the Glock switch. Everybody's aware of that particular legislation. Basically converting a semi-automatic gun, which is a pistol, into a machine gun. And lastly, I want to mention is the Juvenile Accountability and Monitoring Act. Basically what that is Alabama Pardons and Parole and any other state agencies such as DYS or any type of release programs. It provides them access to electronic monitoring for juvenile delinquents. Also, the second piece of that is the 72-hour confinement, which it allows the judge or the court, any juvenile or status offender, let me say status offender, which is a minor, who violated a court order, they can be held on electronic monitoring and they will not be detained, or they could be detained into a juvenile facility. One thing I want to say, and I want to leave y'all with this: it doesn't matter who you are, where you at. Everybody here wants to feel safe, and I think together, us continue to work together, we took a step forward to make Alabama a safe state once again. So thank y'all so much. Okay, my colleagues here, I apologize. I represent Rafferty right here. Y'all know who this is. He just got elected. You got Senator Roger Smitterman. Senator. Okay, you got that. All right. Who else here? That's it. I apologize.
Come on up, Senator.
Good morning. It's good to be here this morning with each and every one of you. I want to recognize who's been recognized first, Mayor Woodfin. I want to recognize you in the effort, Chief Pettaway, and Chief Pickett. I want to recognize you and your men and your staff, if they're ladies with us, and let you all know that we stand hand in hand with you all to support your efforts in trying to make our city, our county, and our state safe. It's unfortunate that we don't have home rule. And because we don't have home rule, that means that we have to be an integral part in providing you all the tools that's necessary to do y'all job. And I promise y'all we're going to do that. And whatever else we need to do, we're going to do it. Because one thing about the streets, and before I say that, I want to do this. I want to introduce my colleagues. I want to introduce Senator Marika Coleman. All right, and I want to introduce Senator Linda Coleman Madison. These are my two colleagues two of my colleagues in the Jefferson County Senate delegation. And we, it's not me, it's we, because it takes all of us with the House as well to do what we got to do. But we're going to do what's necessary because, as Representative Hendricks mentioned, bullets don't determine whether they hit somebody who's an R. They don't determine whether they hit somebody who's a D. They don't determine whether they hit somebody who's black or somebody who's white. Those bullets are going to hit whoever is out there. And this is a situation that we all, in a bipartisan manner, politics shouldn't have nothing to do with what we're trying to do now. This is the public safety of our citizens in this city and in this county and, of course, in this state. But we do have some legislation in the Senate, and among those pieces is some legislation that I've introduced. And one, our legislation go hand in hand with what the governor's trying to do and what Representative Isley is doing, because he's defining the use and the prohibitive use of the Glock switch. The bill that I have goes a little further. It actually defines what a machine gun is. Any conversion, Glocksmith or any otherwise, to take a weapon that is not designed to shoot automatically and have it to do that, then you're going to be enhanced with a very serious enhanced penalty. The same thing is true if you use one and hurt someone. Same thing is true if you're in possession of one. And the reason for that is that we got to get these people off the streets. It's just that simple. If someone is careless enough to be shooting at somebody else and get a gun that's going to kill 10 other people around them, first place they shouldn't be shooting. But if you're going to be that careless and reckless, then you need to be removed for the safety of our citizens here in Jefferson County. The same thing true with another bill, that is, we're requiring people that have weapons to put these weapons up, to keep them away from these young people. So lock them up, and if not, then that's a consequence for that too. It's time for us to get serious at the next level. We've been serious, but it's time for us to take an all-out assault on these weapons, on crime, and on these shootings. And as I said earlier, whatever we can do in Montgomery, we're going to do it. The first one of them bills that hit in the Senate, we're going to get it passed and get it through with the House bill, and we're going to move to pass the other bills because all of them go hand in hand. So I just want each and every one of y'all to know that, you know, we are going to be going back down tomorrow, and we're going to be taking these bills up, and we're going to do everything we can to move these bills forward in a bipartisan manner. And I want to say it in conclusion of this, it doesn't matter who gets the credit. I mean, let's get that straight. It does not matter about credit. The credit is going to be for the citizens to have a safer place and a better place to live. And with that, I'll turn this back over to our mayor and look forward to working with each and every one of you all to enhance the opportunity to make life better for our citizens here in Jefferson County, Birmingham, and Alabama. Thank you.
Nobody has to move yet. Let me say this as I bring up Rick Journey, who will facilitate any questions you may have. Thank you. Thank you to LaTonya Tate and her colleagues on the Birmingham City Council. Thank you to Michael Pickett and his command staff and every Birmingham police officer who risk their life every day. Thank you to Sheriff Petway, to his men and women and his command staff who risk their life every day to keep us safe. And thank you to our district attorney's office and Danny Carr and all of his assistant DAs who are literally fully embracing this and are partners with us. But a special, genuine thank you to our Jefferson County delegation, those you see present, Representative Neil Rafferty, Representative Hendricks, and Representative Datcher, as well as Senators Coleman Madison, as well as, I got it right, as well as Senator Smitherman for their leadership, as well as their colleagues who could not be here this morning with us. With that said, one last note, Rick, come on up. This is not just about possession. These laws will allow the men and women you see here in law enforcement to go after those who make them, convert them, as well as distribute and sell them as well. Rick Journey.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody, for your comments and your presence today. So what we discussed a little while ago, we've got another part of this news conference right afterwards, but I wanted to open this up for any brief, if you have any brief questions on this particular topic. Scott?
Yeah, we heard Sheriff Petway and Danny Carr, as well as Councilwoman Tate, kind of said that they need the public's help. Can you highlight some ways that the public can help, some specific ways? Is that calling the police? What does that look like?
I can't. Look, I'm going to jump in here by saying we saw something pretty amazing in 2024 that allowed the Birmingham police to make more arrests, and that is with the use of Crime Stoppers. With the use of Crime Stoppers, citizens were able to provide tips in the safest manner possible by not necessarily divulging their information, their name, their home address, their emails, their phone numbers. We don't know anything about the person. What we do know is that citizens felt empowered enough to engage Crime Stoppers that led to credible tips for BPD to make their investigations more solvable and actually arrest people. We see something similar to that in 2025 once this bill is passed. We hope this bill is passed. That allows us to engage the community to say, hey, this tip line exists. If you know someone that is selling, manufacturing, hey, this tip line exists. If you know someone is possession, carrying, or driving with them. And we want to be in a position to work with our police foundation, to be in a position to partner with Crime Stoppers to provide tip money as well. And anybody else want to add to that, please feel free.
Okay. Anybody? Yes, go ahead.
Anyone can tackle this question, but how do you think state legislation will have more of an impact on this issue compared to the federal laws that are currently in place?
Danny? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm the traffic cop here.
No, but you may want to Tell them the contracts.
Yeah, I think it would be huge. Number one, it gives us the ability, right here locally, right here in Birmingham, right here in Jefferson County, to handle those cases in state court, right down the street in the Jefferson County Courthouse. But it also allows us to continue to further our partnership with Prim Escalona, who is the U.S. Attorney as well. So right now, we're referring those cases in partnership with BPD, in partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office, in partnership with the Sheriff's Department, but now it gives us the ability to handle those cases as we see fit right here locally. And hopefully that bill that's passed will have some mandatory minimums as well.
I wanted to have Senator Coleman add to that.
Thank you so much. I'm simply going to add that it also sends a message. It sends a message to those would-be criminals here locally that we're not going to stand for that here in Birmingham, the city of Birmingham and Jefferson County. So the laws that we pass also, they determine what our value system is. So we're letting them know that we're going to be tough on crime. We want to have a city that, in a county that is safe, habitable, where people can work and play. So it also sends a message that here locally, we as legislators, we as city officials, we as law enforcement are not going to stand that here in Birmingham and Jefferson County.
Yeah. Mayor Woodfin, may I ask, with the discussions about from the Trump administration about cuts to NIH funding, could you talk about there's been any discussion in your office about that, as well as what that means economically for the city NIH funding?
Yeah, so let's stay focused on this because we have a lot of guests here, and then we'll follow back up on that. One more question, and then we're going to switch over. Yes.
So Chief Pickett said that 30 to 40 Glock switches were gotten that you had your goal. How were those obtained, and were they attached to firearms at the time?
Good morning. Yes, ma'am. And they were attained through us responding to calls of either shots fired, also us doing investigations where we may have been arresting someone, taking them into custody. They were in possession of a firearm in conjunction with them committing another offense. And once we, of course, check that weapon for safe, we break it down, then we observe a Glock switch. Some of them are visible. While the gun is still put together, if you will, and some of them we actually have to break them down to see the internals of the weapon to determine that it has a Glock switch in it. So through our investigations, arrests, and calls for service, that's how we come across those.
So we're going to wrap up here. Thank you once again to everybody. With that, we're going to kind of make a quick transition, and then Chief Pickett and his command staff will continue on. So just hang on 1 second. We'll get started. Okay. Sure. Thank you. Sure.
The work we can do to help you all.